Hi, I'm Lance Lambert. Thanks for tuning in to the Vintage Vehicle Show. We are in Lake Havasu City, Arizona at Bob's Big Boy. It's the monthly Bob's Big Boy Cruise Night. We're going to have a great time. We're going to see some great cars, meet some really nice people, hear some good music. So do what I tell you to do every week. Just kick back, relax, and enjoy the show. We are standing next to Terry Quayle's beautiful 1927 Ford. This is a Buick-powered car, correct?
Yes, has a Buick V6 in it. Sweet running little car. Nothing's been done to the engine outside of a 4-barrel carburetor has been put on it. It's running a 350 turbo in it. Runs really great.
I had the pleasure of driving this car at the close of our coverage of the Run to the Sun car show here in Lake Havasu, and it putted along pretty well.
Yeah, it'll get right down the road. It'll keep up with the speed limit, no problems. Kind of funny to see this car running down the road at 70 miles an hour, but...
You were very gracious when I didn't return for an hour and a half with your car.
Yeah, well, that's fine. We'll do that for friends.
So the choice of a Buick 6, not real unusual. You see that every once in a while, but kind of, most everybody puts a small block Chev in something like this. What made you decide to do a Buick motor?
Well, one reason, I was looking for a real dependable car, and I didn't want to start cutting the car up to put an engine in. If you put a V8 in it, you got to cut the firewall out. It moves back into in the passenger compartment. So this is a real good engine for that.
What's the cubic inch displacement on it? 231. So that's plenty.
Yes, does a good job. It's got a 4-barrel on it, so it runs down the road really good. The car's got a turbo 350 behind this, and it's running a Ford 9-inch in the back, so it's real dependable. No problem with braking or anything. We put a 4-inch drop front axle in it to get it down, and we're running Krager mags. Does real good. Got tilt steering wheel in it. We love the car real well.
Nice traditional looking hot rod interior on it too.
Yes, and the other thing is we didn't want to chop this car. You see so many of them are chopped down, and we wanted to keep the tall T look. That's what we were after. So.
Yeah. Well, when I drove it on that one show, it was interesting how easily it did donuts on the golf course there.
I missed that part.
I waited till I got over the hill before I did that.
Yeah, you must have.
I have a question, a non-automotive question. This is Arizona. People come to Arizona in the wintertime because of the warm weather. It is freezing here. What's up?
Well, it's not freezing. I just talked to my daughter in Seattle, and it was 17 degrees. So what are you talking about?
Now, I left Seattle yesterday, and it was 75 degrees and sunny. So, well, tell me about the car scene here. I know in Lake Havasu there seems to be, for not a huge community, there seems to be an awful lot of car clubs.
Yes, there's, I would say, one of the largest areas for car clubs outside of maybe Southern California. A lot of people here have these cars. We all seem to enjoy this type of recreation. It's a good area to be, especially winter when it's warm. But yeah, we enjoy it.
Yeah. When it's 108 degrees, 18 degrees, but it's a dry heat. So yeah.
Yes, it is.
Well, the future plans for this car?
No future plans. Just drive it. Just love it. I'd probably never get rid of it. I really like this car.
Well, you made a mistake once of letting me drive it. Is that likely to happen again?
Maybe, but I wouldn't bet on it.
Yeah. Let's have a few beers and decide.
Okay,
yeah.
Well, maybe then.
All right, thanks, Terry.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you.
Joe, you have a car here that you describe as a jalopy. On the back it says Da Rat. Tell me, what are we looking at here?
We're looking at something that was built in the post-war years, World War II, that our fathers probably would have built, only this was built with safety in mind. And it has a custom chassis that is Z'd at least 4 inches. The body is chopped 4 inches and it's channeled 4 inches. The body was left in what we call patina, and it's a fun car. There's no cleaning involved.
So up until a couple of years ago, patina was referred to as rust, right?
Right. Yes, you're right.
We got polite. And the graphics on the side.
The car was actually started by the guy that originally built it in Half Moon Bay, California, and he had Half Moon Bay on it, on the doors, in stencil, and Bomb Factory he added. So I had a sign painter, when I got the car finished, I had a sign painter redo it for me.
And is it a 27?
It's a 1927 T.
Cool. Yeah. And the engine?
The engine is a modified 350 Chevy. And for nostalgia, I put the old Offenhauser manifold on with the 3 Rochester carburetors.
What kind of reaction do you get from the general public in, the person at the Safeway store who, when they think of hot rods, they think of painted and all finished, and maybe they're not tuned into the popularity of this kind of design now? What kind of reaction do you get? Like, when are you going to finish it, or was that really the Half Moon Company's bomb car, or what do you get?
I get a little of each. Half Moon Bay, some people know Half Moon Bay, California, and they didn't know a bomb factory was up there. That's just a name given to the car. And yes, one of the questions is when I'm going to finish it. It's really a nice car, and as soon as you get it painted, it's going to be beautiful. But it also gets a lot of looks from people that just think it's cute the way it is.
Lots of thumbs up going down the road.
Thumbs up, yes.
A question I ask some of the people around here today. This is Arizona, and I am pretending I am not freezing to death. What's up with this weather?
It's it's a little of the weather coming down from Canada, so but it's still a good time of the year.
I've never liked Canadians myself. I don't know about you. Those people are trouble.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, Joe, very much. Beautiful car.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Bob Thompson, you have a beautiful 1958 Edsel. You don't see these every day. Where'd this come from?
It came from Alberta.
So you're from Alberta?
I'm from Alberta, just northwest of Edmonton, Mayerthorpe, Alberta. And we live there about 6-7 months out of the year, and we live the other in Quartzsite, Arizona.
So a 58 Edsel, what made you decide that you wanted that over a 57 Chev or a 32 Ford or things that are more traditional thought of as car guys' cars?
Well, my ideal car, and I had one, was a 57 Ford, but I couldn't find another one, and my only other choice was a 58 Edsel. I've had 56 Ford half-tons and a lot of Ford products, mostly Fords, but this was one of my favorite cars.
The car scene here in Lake Havasu City, Arizona seems to be really strong, real active. How does it compare with the Canadian scene where we're in your area?
We're very active up there. We have upwards of 300 to 500 cars at some big shows up there, but ordinary show there'll be 70 to 90 to 100 cars at an ordinary show in Shine.
And it's very cold here today. Do you have anything to do with that? Did you bring that down from Canada?
I hope you don't blame me for that, probably because they're having a blizzard there right now.
58 Edsels have taken, I think when Edsels, everybody knows, when they first came out there was a lot of interest in them, and then they took a real nosedive because the styling was just too far ahead or too different. And then as time went by, suddenly everybody decided, or a lot of people decided that, hey, these things are pretty cool, they're so different. You get reaction from people that way, or some people still think the car is real bizarre looking?
You get both reactions. They were just way ahead of their time at the time, but they had a few mechanical problems which we overcame, but that was their downfall. They're basically a Ford product. They're built on a Ford frame, Ford engine, everything, but they had problems with shifting of the transmission. It was a terrible thing. It kept falling up all the time and falling to pieces and whatnot. But a lot of people can relate to the Edsel. I've had about 6 people come at this show alone and say, you know, my uncle or my dad had an Edsel, and the fella just talked to me a while ago, and he said, man, I used to work at a service station. I used to drive a lot of Edsels, jocking them back and forth. So everybody relates to an Edsel, and I don't know why.
Didn't they tweak the motors on these just a little bit so they could say they had a higher output than the Fords?
It's yes and no. It depends. There was different motors put into them. This engine is original, and it's actually a truck engine. It's a 361, and it's got 400 pounds torque, and it's right on the tappet covers. So they might have tweaked them. I'm not aware of that they did anything special to them. They just put different engines in them.
Well, right there, instead of a 360, it's a 361. So
it's a heavier bottom end in that. It's made basically for trucks.
Finding parts for an Edsel, a lot of suppliers out there, or is it still a little bit of a challenge?
It's quite a challenge, yeah. I needed some taillight lenses, and I had to get them out of Florida about a month ago.
Was it built in Alberta or a Canadian-built Edsel?
No, San Jose. This one was built in San Jose, California.
I have one question. This is kind of a burning question that a lot of the viewers have. I notice a lot of Canadians, they'll cross the border, they'll come down here to car shows, and they'll do 2 things. They'll take our trophies and they'll take our women, and then they'll sneak back across the border in the dead of night. What's up with that?
I don't know. Can't blame them for that. I don't know. They're just like shining knights in armor. They sneak in and back out again, I guess.
I have yet to meet a woman that can resist a Canadian. So thank you, Robert. Thank you very much for being on the Vintage Vehicle Show.
Thank you, sir.
Bob CASABURI, it is very, very cold here. What's up?
It's just the time of year. This is the time. This is the time for cold.
But it helped warm it up a little bit with a bright red car coming in here. Your 1941 Chevrolet is very nice. Tell us about it.
Oh, thank you. It's a 41 Chevy. It's got a big block in it, which is very important to me and very important to Havasu. It is air conditioned.
In 1963, my buddy was putting a V8 in his 41 Chev Coupe, and I had a 48 Chev Coupe that Aereo sedan that suddenly had a rod hanging out the side of it. So I took the motor out of his 41, put it in my 48, told everybody it was a 53 because you couldn't put a 41 in a 48. So what's under the hood of this one?
This is a 1985 454. The motor happens to be out of an old motorhome chassis. It's out of an actual motorhome, and a little bit of work to it, and it runs very well, very strong.
A motorhome motor, was it any real different, or just a truck build, or?
No, nothing very different. It's a 454 carbureted with a turbo 400 transmission, and a Camaro, or actually a Pontiac Firebird rear end, and a Camaro chassis in the front, 1980, and the rest is 1941. I tried to keep it as basically as stock as possible, just very clean.
A 41 Chevrolet is not rare. You see them around, but it's a little bit unusual. Do you get any kind of reaction from people as in, what is this? You know, this isn't a Ford, what is this? Or is it's generally everybody knows what it is?
Most people do know that it's a Chevy. You know, they recognize it as a Chevrolet. The 41 was like one of the last these cars were stopped. They stopped making these in 41, and they started to reproduce them again in 47. So from 41 to 47, there was really nothing except tanks.
So they didn't make the 46s?
No, they did not. Not to my knowledge. I think they made 47 was the next production year, was 47.
If somebody was going to move to Lake Havasu, this seems to be such a cool area for the car scene, and despite today's weather, a great spot. Somebody somewhere, we air on 47 stations around the country and in Europe. Somewhere somebody is watching this and saying, I've thought about moving to some place like Arizona, and now that I'm getting close to retirement age, and I want a community that has the right temperature and the right car thing. What advice would you give them?
Havasu is wonderful. If you visit it, once you come here, the thought of actually living here is just like a dream. And I always wanted to retire here, and I finally did about 3.5 years ago. We retired here, and it's been wonderful. It's absolutely great. The people are wonderful. It's a small community, and I think it's great.
So despite my complaints about it being cold, which I understand you're breaking the record for cold temperature for this time of year, it's still the place to be.
Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, thanks, Bob, and maybe I'll come back when it's a little bit warmer. Denny Flesher, this is a beautiful 1967 Dodge Dart. Looks very stock, very, is it restored or is it just one that's been taken care of?
I found it on eBay out of San Antonio. It had been restored. A fellow down there fixed it up for his wife, and then she passed away. And he couldn't stand looking at it after about 3 years, so he put it up for sale, flew down there and drove it back.
So is this a good eBay story or a bad eBay story?
It turned out real good.
So it didn't misrepresent it?
No, this one was good. Put a few dollars into it, but what you see is pretty much what we got.
One of the things I think about Dodge Darts is they are a really good-looking car. They are a good representation of good Mopar, and the when cars scoot along pretty quickly. But it's a Dodge Dart. It's very. We're not looking at a Barrett Jackson $330,000 Mopar.
I wouldn't have it if it was that expensive. No, I tell you, my brother-in-law and I went down to San Antonio. We flew down, picked up the car, and we were probably on the road about 4 hours, stopped for gas. And a fella come around the corner, worked with a auto magazine, made us an offer about half again more than we paid for it.
But here it sits.
But here I got it.
So if somebody wants to get into the hobby and they're looking to have a Mopar, Chrysler, Dodge, Plymouth, DeSoto, whatever, what kind of advice would you give them?
Just check out what's out there. eBay, Car Soup, any of those internet sites are probably the best, or word of mouth.
Power plant on this?
This is a 273, 2-barrel. It's set up for a 4-barrel, but it uses enough gas the way it is.
Automatic or stick?
Automatic, dual exhaust. It's got air suspension in back, air conditioning, power steering, manual brakes.
So the air suspension, is that something you or the previous owner put in it?
The previous owner installed that. You can adjust the rear end.
So it scoots along just fine, gets you where you want to go.
Oh, this ride's real nice on the road.
I think the thing that's the most appealing about a Dodge Dart from this year and the years before and after it is they're so simple. There's a real kind of classic elegance to them.
That's one of the things I liked about it. Real clean lines. The first new car I ever bought was a 67 Dodge Coronet. This is very similar lines, roof lines the same, and I liked that too, where the body was clean.
Not a lot of gewgaws on it.
Not cluttered up with chrome.
Oh, hey, thanks for watching the show here in Lake Havasu City, Arizona. We have shot over 320 episodes of the Vintage Vehicle Show since 1993. I have never been this cold, and we're in Arizona. What's up with this? We're in Arizona, and I'm freezing. Anyway, a big thank you to KLHU that helped us out with the shoot today, and all the people that were on the show. And I'm going to go order a milkshake, so I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.